Morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever in the world you are tuning in from. Welcome to NTEEP 5.0. My name is Vivian, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. So, NTEEP, short form for Non-Fraud Technologies Entrepreneurship Empowerment Project, has been empowering African entrepreneurs with digital tools, mentorship, and global access since its inception. Over 1,600 startups have already been impacted, and this year's edition promises even more growth, connections, and transformation. This session marks the official kickoff of NTEEP 5.0, and what's a better way to start than with a powerhouse like Dr. Jami Bryant? Dr. Bryant is an accomplished entrepreneur, investor, and an author with over 15 years of experience. She's built and sold multi-million dollar healthcare businesses and is passionate about legacy, wealth, impactful investing, and entrepreneurship in emerging markets. So today's topic is turning ideas into impacts, identifying business opportunities. So don't forget to either drop your questions in the live chat. We'll dive into the QA after either the talk. So handing you over to Dr. Jami Bryant. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Vivian, thank you so much for having me. I am very appreciative of being here and talking to you guys this morning. I am in the Seattle, Washington area, so I'm about, I don't know how many hours behind I am from you guys, but it's 2 a.m. here, just to let you guys know. So that means I am very excited to talk to you guys because I stayed up way past my bedtime to get to chat with you and talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is identifying opportunities for businesses. Vivian already did an amazing job giving a little bit of my background, but I just wanted to kind of introduce myself a little bit more. I am an investor, a business strategist, and broker. A business broker is somebody who helps people buy and sell businesses for individuals who aren't used to that term. And I'm also a licensed commercial agent. So sometimes when you buy a business, the commercial property is along with it, or sometimes when you open a business, you have to lease a piece of property to run your business out of. So I help with all of that. In addition to that, I do have a nonprofit with my family called United and Impactful. So we do like to give back whenever we can. Outside of that, I love to spend time with my son, who is an adult now, but we still get to hang out with each other. And I love that, and I would like to spend time with my girls. So let's get right into the discussion today. And like I said, I am very excited to talk about this particular topic. When you're looking for a business idea and you're trying to decide what it is that you can do to get started in business, there are many different key elements that you want to take into consideration and you want to look at. You want to look for viable opportunities, right? When we talk about opportunities, we're talking about something beyond just an idea. In addition to the opportunities you want to seek out, you want to make sure that you test out your potential opportunity before you start digging into, spending all of your hard-earned money and investing into something that possibly may not provide as much return on investment as you would like. And we're going to talk about how you do that today in today's topic. And then you're going to have confidence, right? One of the best characteristics that entrepreneurs have is confidence in themselves. Confidence in whatever it is that you are potentially going to be selling. So having that confidence is so key whenever it's time to build an empire. Where do your business ideas come from? Well, they come from solving a problem, right? Think about the businesses that you patron on a day-to-day basis. Usually you go to them because you need something, and so they are solving a problem for you. And so you want to look at it that way. What problem can you solve for other people? You also want to take into consideration, what experience do you have? Now, me, I work with a lot of healthcare entrepreneurs, And so one of the things we focused on is what are the skills and the knowledge that they already have that they can monetize. Sometimes that may not necessarily be a clinic right away. Sometimes that may be something like healthcare coaching or wellness coaching or things of that nature. But we're building on the experience that they already have versus trying to force them to go out and learn something completely new. And that applies to any industry, right? I used healthcare as an example, but if you've been working at an air conditioning company, then maybe you have HVAC experience. HVAC is very popular right now, and it's such a growing industry. So because there's such a need for it. And speaking of need, that brings me to my third point, which is making sure that you can identify a market gap, right? So as you're thinking of ideas of businesses to start, you want to possibly ask yourself these three questions. What problems can I solve? What experience do I already have that I can hone in on? And what is a gap in the market that I can help fill? After you take that time to ask those few questions, you're going to take a little bit more time to decide what is an actual opportunity versus what is just a mere idea, right? Do you have the capability to turn this idea into something real? Is the timing right for this idea to become an opportunity? Okay. What is the scalability? And I'm going to use my healthcare entrepreneurs as another example because a lot of times we talk about what experience they have and what they can get started with. But if they can never grow their business past just themselves, that's a problem, right? So what is the scalability of the business? And in addition to that, what is the demand for it? When we think about demand, and we're talking about taking ideas and turning them into opportunities from a business standpoint, I want to give the example of coffee shops, right? So sometimes we think that we have to come up with a brand new idea in order to go out there and start a business, but usually you don't have to necessarily come up with a brand new idea. You can take an idea that's already working and just make it your own. Again, I live here in the Seattle area, which is the birthplace of Starbucks, but Starbucks is not the most patronized coffee shops here in this area. There's a coffee shop on every corner. And I do mean that literally. On this corner, there's one shop. On this corner, there's another shop. But guess what? They're all busy. And I'm pretty sure that the people who were across from each other didn't say to themselves, I'm not going to open up a coffee shop because this place is already open. Or I'm not going to open up a coffee shop because we already have Starbucks. So when you're thinking about demand, you don't want to talk yourself out of turning an idea into an opportunity because you think that it's oversaturated or you think somebody else has already done it, right? I hope you guys are really enjoying us talking about taking our ideas and turning them into opportunities, because we are going to also talk about what is called a feasibility study. And that is how you make sure that your idea can actually work, right? But let's go a little bit more into what it means to turn these ideas into actual opportunities. So you want to take some time and talk to the people who are going to be your consumers, right? If you have consumers, if you are and you have consumers that are out there that are already looking to purchase from you, and let's say you're thinking of expanding this or starting a business, interview the people who are already working with you. This is the time to utilize your connections that you already have, you've already gained, and use that as kind of like a case study to see if your idea is even really a good one. We all think we have great ideas, right? You know, type a 1 in the chat if in your mind you said, I have a great idea at one point, but then you thought back later and you're like, you know, that really wasn't necessarily the best idea. I was just really passionate about it in the moment. But what can we do to take that idea and turn it into a true opportunity? So market analysis, you want to perform a market analysis. Maybe the idea that you have isn't going to work in your area, right? You may need to go outside of your area in order for this business to be successful. But that's been something that you have to understand in the beginning. In addition to that, you want to also do what's called a SWOT analysis. So if you aren't familiar with SWOT analysis, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you want to perform this SWOT analysis before you start your business, right? So you're going to do your business plan. You're going to look at all of the possibilities, all of the possible threats. You're going to look at all of the possible weaknesses. Starting a business, you will have to take a good look at yourself and be honest with yourself and say, what are my weaknesses? Because when you have weaknesses, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to start a business in that certain capacity. Maybe you just need to hire somebody to cater to that weakness of yours. For me, technology is not, my number one thing that I'm really, really good at. So when I hire, I have to make sure that I hire to that weakness and make sure that I'm bringing somebody in who is more tech savvy than I am. So understanding your weaknesses doesn't discount you getting ready to start. It just lets you know where you are from the very beginning. And it gives your business a true opportunity to be successful by identifying the things that could potentially threaten it in the very beginning. Who here is taking in this information and feels like it? Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Hello. We can hear you. A minute to check. As our speaker is either fixing the network issues, in case you have any question, you can kindly drop the question maybe in the chat box, and then we'll be able to either get back to you guys. So in case of anything, just reach out. And to either remind you, let's say like NTEEP was either formed to either maybe assist, let's say like small setups, startups maybe. So I hope, let's say after this session, you'll be able to either learn or grasp something from this, let's say like live and this. Yes, AJ.
Yes, I hope that we all have learned one thing or the other. Let's be patient as we wait for her. She's going to be back with us shortly. As Vivian already said, I believe that at this point, if you have any question, just drop the question on the comment section. Pay attention to the announcement section. And if she's able to join it immediately, otherwise we are going to find a way to continue the session. But I believe that she will be here shortly. So Vivian, over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Jessica.
Yeah, so sorry. Our speaker for today is having network issues. But like Mr. AJ said, Vivian, if you do have any questions, please engage us on the chat box. And also remember, you can follow us on NTEEP on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And on Instagram, we're at NTEEP Connect. So you can just remember to just give us a follow and engage us in all our social media handles. Also, just a reminder, after today's session, the attendance will be made available in the description box of the YouTube link. So once the session is over, just come back to the description box and then the attendance will be made available there. So yes, thank you, Vivian. Over to you.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I had some technical difficulties.
Yes. Welcome back, Doctor.
Thank you. Again, I apologize. Am I able to share my screen?
Okay, currently not yet.
Okay. Oh, AJ, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you can do that. Just go ahead and share your screen, I believe.
Okay. Is it up? Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, it's okay.
There we go. Some technical difficulties. I got kicked out. Okay, we were on SWOT analysis. So we talked about the strengths, we talked about the weaknesses. So let's talk about how to validate your business idea. So we kind of talked a little bit about making sure that you can solve a problem, right? The example that I gave was, well, one of the examples I gave was a coffee shop, right? So coffee shops don't necessarily solve a problem in some people's minds. You know, we want to make sure, people want to make sure that they can get coffee on their way to work or in the middle of the day. It's just something that people need to have. It's a problem for them. So it's a problem that you can solve, not it's a problem like drinking coffee. I don't want to, you know, get on anybody's bad side, but drinking coffee is definitely not a problem. You want to look at how people are spending money around you, right? It's very important to make sure that you have a target audience and a target avatar, and the individuals who are spending money a certain way with the business idea that you are having, you want to ensure that you're targeting that specific type of individual. And there's a key strategic way to make sure that you are not trying to just put your business out there and targeting everybody. And of course, like we mentioned in the previous slide, how can it be scaled? Because starting out as I mentioned, a coffee shop, starting out as a little coffee cart that you take around to events, and having a business that has a brick and mortar and a full staff, they're completely different, right? So how do you go from the coffee cart to having a brick and mortar business? What are some red flags to look for? So some of you guys that are in the chat with us, I want you to kind of tell us some of the red flags that you saw when you first started your business. But I'm going to go over a couple that are pretty standard, right? And so not having a clear customer. Like I just mentioned in the previous slide, you want to have a specific avatar. When I work with my clients, we build a person, right? A specific gender, a specific age. We talk about their hobbies. There's a whole worksheet that we go through together, and we give them a name, right? We give them a name so that whenever my clients start derailing and they start talking about, oh, I'm going to go do this for advertising, or I'm going to go do that, I ask them, like, is that where your client is, right? Is that where, whatever the name of your client is? Let's say their client is Tom. They say, I'm going to do marketing in a gym. I say, is Tom going to find your marketing there, right? Because if you're just blasting out information and you're just trying to catch whoever you possibly can, you're not having a very clear avatar. And that's one of the number one reasons why businesses fail. Because if you're trying to market to everybody, then in essence, you're marketing to nobody, right? Another thing you want to watch out for is high initial investment with long term before you start seeing return on investments. Now, depending on the type of business that you're starting, usually you are going to have a little bit higher initial investments. If you want to start a business like affiliate marketing, digital content, e-commerce, and you're partnering with other people, those are going to have lower initial investments, right? With a little bit more of an immediate return, because typically you'll see return on investment within the first couple of months. But when you're opening up a restaurant or something to that nature, then your investment is going to be really, really high. You've got to have proper zoning. You've got to have, all the proper equipment and things of that nature. So it's really important to make sure that you're watching your investment and when you're going to start seeing some of that return. Saturated market. Now, we kind of talked about this earlier when I mentioned that a market that could potentially be viewed as oversaturated isn't necessarily a hard stop, right? But that's part of your feasibility. Just make sure that you're looking in your area and the need, and is the need being met? And is the market overly saturated? Is your business so niche that the market is already overly saturated with that specific niche? I gave the example earlier of coffee shops being one on every corner here in the Seattle area. But, I work with a lot of med spa owners, and if there's a med spa on every corner, that's a little bit different than a coffee shop on every corner. You're talking about hundreds of dollars of services versus $10, for the service that they offer. So it's all about what it is that you're offering the community and what it is that you are bringing to them. And that's going to determine the level of saturation, if it's a red flag or not. So I hope that makes sense. And if your delivery is too complicated, if you just have too many moving parts, right? If you're a brand new business and you have never done business before, I say keep it simple. The simpler you keep your business, the easier it's going to be to scale it. Then once you scale, then you can start adding other components to the business, or you can do like I did. You can sell one of them and then go do something else, with your money. You can start investing. You could open up that bigger business so you can do whatever your dream is. So there's always an opportunity to scale and even scale out of. But whenever you're first getting started, you want to keep those initial investments as low as you can, and you want to make sure to keep it as simple as you possibly can. Now, I want to talk about something that a lot of people who talk to new business owners don't talk about, and that is the difference between buying and business versus starting something from scratch, right? Because as you are beginning your journey to become a business owner, nobody said that you had to just completely start from scratch and do everything all by yourself. If you remember, I said I'm a business broker and I help people sell their businesses, and I work with a lot of baby boomers right now that are looking to exit out and retire. And so if you're trying to get a business started and you're looking for a model that is already working, why not buy an established business that already has a customer base, already has brand recognition, already has support from the community? So there are always options other than just finding an idea and then going out and starting the business from scratch. There's pros and cons to both, but today we're just going to focus on talking a little bit about, just the difference between starting from scratch and buying something that's existing. When you're buying existing, like I mentioned, there's already that cash flow. You already have your customer base. There may be a little bit of a higher upfront cost, depending on what type of business you're buying. But the systems are already in place, and the systems are what helps businesses be successful, okay? When you're starting a business off fresh, you have full control, right? It's your idea, it's your baby. Not a huge fan of that term, but that's your baby. So you birth it out and you put it out there and you just hope everybody comes. Sometimes there's a lower initial cost, not always, because you've got to get all those insurance and everything to put in place to make sure to protect your business. And you have to have the lawyers draw up all the paperwork. So a lot of times there's a lot of costs that people don't consider. So the startup costs can be a little bit lower, but it can be very much similar to the amount that you would spend if you buy something that's existing. And the other main difference is there's a slower path to profit. We know that over 50% of businesses fail within their first 3 years, right? And so if you're buying something that's already established, it's more than 3 years old, and it's already bringing in money, that's an option versus starting out from scratch, building your systems from scratch, and hoping that 3 years from now you're still standing. If you do go the path of buying an already established business, you want to make sure that you do your due diligence. You have to go above and beyond. I say work with somebody who is a professional who can help you with this process, because you're going to be looking at finances of the business over the past 3 years. You're going to look at the operations as a whole. Do they have employees? How many employees do they have? What's the operational expenses every month? You're going to look at all of that. And you're going to look at your the legality of you owning a business. So earlier I mentioned I work with healthcare professionals. Can a non-healthcare person can a non-healthcare person own a healthcare practice? In some states here in the United States, a non-healthcare professional can own a business, a healthcare business, right? But you probably have to be partnered with somebody who is licensed, whether they're an MD or a nurse practitioner or have some type of medical license, or your entire staff have to have the license. So you're here and you're the owner, and everybody else, they help run the business. What would happen if you lost the majority of your staff, right? So you want to look at all the legal implications and what it needs to own, to take on a new business. You want to look at all of the potential liabilities. What in the past has happened with this business, or what in the future could potentially happen with this business? And then you want to look at transitioning. You want to transition peacefully, and you want it to go smoothly, meaning from one owner to the new owner, right? So how does that look for you? Now we're going to talk a little bit about what I mentioned earlier, which is a feasibility study. So drop one in the chat for me if you have heard of and know what a feasibility study. Let me know in the chat if you know what a feasibility study is. Either way, we're going to go over it today because I think it's very, very important. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about what exactly the feasibility study is, right? And so a feasibility study is a comprehensive analysis to evaluate the practicality and the potential success of a project, okay? It's mostly used for business ventures. It also can be used, or should be used, when you're already established in business, but you want to bring on a new product or a new service, you should also conduct a feasibility study. And what it is that you're looking for is, can I do this? Should I do this? Will this work legally and financially? And so there are 5 main components of a feasibility study. Okay, we're going to talk about those 5 main components, but we're also I just want to touch a little bit on the fact that, there's a 30% failure reduction rate for people who sit down and seriously conduct a true feasibility. Again, with my clients, this is one of the things that we go through together when they come on with me. We do this before they even get started with their business. And I have since done courses, on-demand courses, to teach people how to conduct a feasibility, because it's so important to the start of a business that it's just not something that can be skipped, okay? You are likely to have 2 times funding success if you can show that you have conducted feasibility study when you are looking for funding for a business. So we haven't started talking about, how to fund your idea, but it's just important to understand that by conducting this study, you are not only reducing your failure rate, which in essence is increasing your success rate, but you're also increasing the likelihood that lenders will lend to you because they look at this and they say, oh, this person is really taking this seriously because they've done all their due diligence. So one of the components of the feasibility is the market feasibility, okay? You're gonna look at your customers, you're gonna research your customers, look at their habits, look at where they're buying, how are they spending their money? Are they spending their money? We live in a time period right now where a lot of people say we're about to have a recession in this country anyway. Oh, we're about to have a recession. But yet luxury brands, who's spending money and how they're spending the money. Look at the size of your market, okay? Looking at your competitive landscape and what are the trends for growth in the particular area that you're beginning to open up a business. The second operation is technological feasibility, sorry. So you're gonna look at all of the needed things for technology to be able to include in your business idea, right? What do I need? Do I need a laptop? Do I need headphones? Do I need a microphone? Do I need equipment? Do I need a pizza oven or an espresso machine? Do I need a laser hair removal machine? What all do I need? Where am I going to get them from? And all of that good nature, okay? You want to look at your organizational feasibility as well. Again, team structure is very important. And that includes you. You're going to be an employee of your business. Any type of partnership needs. And by partnership, I mean the other businesses that you can partner with. So what are your business-to-business relationships going to look like? That means with your vendors, with the community, things of that nature. What are the skills required? I kind of talked a little bit about some of the healthcare professionals that I work with. So you would want to go, if you're going to go to a medical spa, you're going to want to go to somebody who is well-versed in things like Botox, dermal fillers, laser hair removal, things of that nature. You're not going to want to go to somebody who's operating out of their business that you don't know if they even have a license, right? So skills are very important. And then what are your operational systems? How are people going to pay? How are your employees going to clock in, clock out? Things like that are operational systems. And how are your customers going to find you? That's a marketing thing, but it's also an operational system that you're going to need to put into place. We talked a little bit about legal ramifications, permits, licensing, things of that nature. And here in the US, in Washington State, you have to register your business, not only in the state, but typically in the county as well. I mentioned some states, the business has to be tied to a license. If it's an attorney, if you're going to open a law office, you have to have an attorney license in order to open a law office. Some states require doctor's offices. You have to be a physician to open up the doctor's office. So it really matters, and you have to do your due diligence in your county to understand what type of licensing and permits that you may need in order to register your business. And then there may be additional regulations that you have to follow, like the Department of Public Health. I know, again, here in the States, some of our medical spa owners, they have to also have a license and a permit through like the cosmetic board, even though they're not cosmetologists. So it really just depends. And these are the things that you need to look for whenever you are opening up your business. Next, you want to look for your financial feasibility, right? And so that is your cost breakdown. What's your cost analysis? What is my profitability going to look like here in the next year to 2 years? And what's my return on investment? How long is it going to take me in order to start getting money back on this investment? All right, and so these are the 5 things that you're going to be looking at whenever you're performing your feasibility. So market, technology, organizational, legal, and financial. Whenever you're taking your idea and turning it into an opportunity and get started, the other thing you're going to focus on are what's the startup cost, right? That's one of the most important things that people look at that helps them determine if they actually are going to start a business. You want to look at your one-time costs, like paying your lawyers, drop your fees, things of that nature. What are some of your ongoing costs, or what I like to call your operating costs, right? So your rent, your utilities, things of that nature, staff, inventory, how often do you have to replenish, and marketing. Your marketing expenses need to account for probably about 20 to 25% of your projected revenue in the first 3 years. And what are any hidden costs that could potentially come up? Repairs, any insurance premiums, any additional permits that you may need, and just an emergency fund like you would have for yourself, right? So that's also super, super important. There are multiple ways that you can fund your business. So you figure out how much you need for startup. Then you can decide, okay, how am I going to get this money? If you don't already have it in your pocket, that's, having the money yourself, that's bootstrapping. That's, I have the money, I'm going to start small and then gradually grow. I'm full ownership. I don't want anybody's help. I'm just going to go in with what I know and what I have, and I'll grow it. Or you can also enlist the assistance of friends and family. You can do kind of like a crowdfunding with your friends and family, and ask them to donate and or loan. You want to be careful with that because there are some risks that come along with mixing, friends and family and business and money, things of that nature. So making sure that you have, if you do go that way, just making sure that you have agreements in place to ensure that, hey, we're all on the same page, okay? We can do this, I can give you the money, we just all need to be on the same page. Very important. You also want to look at grants, right? So grants are out there. I know here in the United States, they really do try to give out grants to small businesses. They have multiple different agencies that focus just on small businesses, especially in the beginning phases. So look at any type of grants, programs, and things of that nature that you can get, try to get money. If you remember in my introduction, I mentioned that we have a nonprofit. So by being an employee of my own nonprofit, there are grants that we can apply for that are not, we're not eligible with my for-profit business. And as long as we're appropriating those funds in the correct manner and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to, there's multiple ways that we can get money. So we definitely look at grants. And then, of course, microfinancing investors go traditional route of getting loans and looking for investors, getting hard money loans, looking for investors, and things of that nature. So definitely lots of opportunity whenever it comes to funding your business. If you are of a specific niche, typically there are funding sources specifically for that niche. So definitely do your due diligence when researching. You want to make sure that you're having a cash flowing process, right? How will you make your money consistently? And by forecasting, you want to know what tools are required for me to ensure that I have this cash flowing process. Because however you get that money, more than likely you're going to need to pay it back. Even if you bootstrap and you take from your 401k and then you spend that money to start your business, you still need to pay yourself back, right? So you want to make sure that you're considering that. Looking at your break-even analysis and understanding what do you need to break even before you hit that profitability mark is really, really important. So understanding how to calculate it and understanding why it matters, just in addition to making sure that you're paying back your loans. And so whenever you're getting ready to start your business, having a launch checklist, if you're doing this on your own and you're not working with somebody who's a consultant or an experienced business owner who's walking you through the process, some of the things that you want to have is your market validation, of course, your feasibility, have your financials ready, have your value proposition clear, meaning what makes you different. And these are all things that should be in your business plan, right? And also making sure that you are set up legally. Now, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about setting up a business. I'm going to give you a few examples, and one of them is how I set my business up, which is basically own nothing but control everything is the saying that they say here in the US. So all of my businesses are owned by trust and LLCs and nothing in my own personal name. Okay, you want to finalize your checklist. We talked about that by having your business plan in place. Part of your business plan needs to be your marketing strategy. If you're not clear how to market for your niche, then please, please, please don't try to go it alone. Make sure you get with somebody who has been successful in business that can help you put together a good marketing plan. Okay. Making sure that, after you've secured your necessary funds and everything that is required legally has been taken care of, now you establish your supply chain. Okay, you're going to be talking to your vendors. How are you going to get your supplies? And how are you going to keep track of all your inventory and everything before you launch? And then again, like I said, making sure that you have really good, effective market strategies is going to be key whenever it comes to your success of your business. And so for me, I'm just here to help you guys as much as I can, build the legacy that you're trying to build. For individuals from this group, if you want to scan this QR code, you do get a free consultation. It's a one-on-one session where we can talk about your specific questions and needs for your business. And like I mentioned before, I have on-demand courses as well that can help you step by step in the business starting journey, how to conduct a feasibility, and things of that nature. And then last but not least, for people who are still in the stages of just kind of thinking about their business and trying to start doing a little bit of research, if you email us at admin@drjamibryant.com, we will send you a free template, a free SWOT analysis template. So again, that email address is admin@drjamibryant.com. I think Vivian can put it in the chat for us. And I thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys learned something today. I know some of you are already in business, but I really hope that you were able to learn something. And I hope to see you guys on my calendar, because even if you're already in business, it never hurts to chat with somebody, and it's a free call, and kind of run through some ideas or just talk about how else you can get your business to multi-million-dollar status. So yes, we have some questions in the chat. We have about 15 minutes for questions. Yes, can we please sample with the wellness business? Hi, AJ. I lost my moderator.
Yes, that
yes.
was. Thank you so much for today's session. Definitely, I believe there are questions. We would be taking them shortly, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Jami, for that wonderful session. I think I really learned a lot, and I think the participants learned a lot as well. I'm so sorry for our moderator, Vivian. I think she had network issues, but she'll be back shortly. So before she's back, I'll just quickly be taking the questions from the participants.
Okay.
Just a moment.
I saw somebody asked about my email, so if there's a way that you can share it in the chat.
Okay, sure. Would be putting your details, your email and your LinkedIn profile for them at the description box. So there's a question from Samuel, and the question is, can we say a market research or customer insight survey is enough to validate if a product is fit for the market?
A market research or customer insight survey. You really need to dig deeper. And it depends on, market research is such a broad term, right? So it depends on how deep you go into your market research. Honestly, I'm going to say no. You really need to dig deep.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think, Dr. Jami, can you hear me? Okay, I think there's a glitch in that network, but please do keep your questions coming. And remember, today's topic is on business opportunities. I'm sure you've learned a lot so far. And remember, you can still tune in tomorrow, same time. Doctor, are you here with me?
Okay, sorry about that. Sometimes my computer with the sharing screen and I'm on video, it gives me a hard time, so I apologize. But I hope, I don't know if you heard the question, but I was saying that I really encourage everybody to dig deep into those 5 components of the feasibility. So just focusing on market research and customer insights is not really going to be enough.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor, for that answer. Another question from Patrick. And the question is, I just wanted to know the nexus between opportunity versus mere idea analysis and technical and financial feasibility study.
So technical and financial are part of a full feasibility study. So the feasibility study is comprised of those 5 sections. It's market, technical, operational, financial, and I already forgot the other one, but there's five of them, okay? And so all of those components make up one feasibility study. And so the difference between an opportunity and an idea is, I'll give you an example of something that I was working on when I lived in Georgia. I was working on something that was catered to pets, right? And it was a great idea, and I thought it was going to work out very well, but really the place where we lived was not super pet friendly. And so that was just an idea. But when I moved out to here in Seattle, people are more outdoorsy. It's very pet friendly, and so my idea that I had years ago has now become an opportunity because the place, the timing and the place and the market are right. So that's a little bit of a difference between just coming up with an idea and the opportunity. The opportunity is something that is actually feasible, and the idea is just like, hey, I want to sell, CDs out of my car or whatever the case may be. So I do hope that answers the question.
I believe it does. Other question from Izzy Ekaite, and the question is, identifying business idea and turning it into, okay, I think that's just a statement. I don't know. Okay, it is a question. And turn it into impact. Is it visible without data?
if you want it to last, if you want to create longevity, you need to have some sort of backing. You need to have some sort of research. I try to encourage people not to go out there and just, like, if you feel like you're creating something new, something that no one's ever done, and you don't have that data yet, then you need to do some brief beginning research part to develop that data. Because you don't want to put all of your time, money, effort, and energy into something without it really having any type of backing to show that it can last.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doctor, for that answer. Another question from Just Vendors. The question is, what typically constitutes a high initial investment? In other words, how long is the average time before investors see results?
So yeah, that's really going to depend on your investors, right? Because typically investors are either going to want to see money back during the process. So let's say I invested $5 million with you, but you have to pay me back monthly. Sometimes and that's, more like a loan, but that's an option. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I'll give you this $5 million as an investment, and then you give me back $6.2 million in 5 years. So it really just depends. But as far as what constitutes a high initial investment, it really depends on the industry that you're in. If you're starting a medical spa and you say, hey, I have $100,000 and that's what I want to start with, you're going to use that $100,000 on finding a location, lawyer stuff, drawing up contracts, and all the proper paperwork, training, and ordering devices. And that's not even the high level devices, because some of those devices cost $200,000-$300,000. So, but if you are going to start a business like, let's say, a t-shirt shop, $100,000 for a t-shirt shop, that's extremely high. If you say $20,000, that gets me the device that I need, all my business registration and things of that nature, you can definitely do that. But will you be able to make that $20,000 back within a year? Absolutely. It depends on if you have the strategies in place. So what will constitute as high investment is really going to depend on the industry that you're in. Like I said, med spa, $100,000 is not necessarily considered high initial investment, because you're going to go through it so fast with nominal things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doctor. Another question from a business account, Revista. The question is, how to do market research in areas where there is no internet?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So boots on the ground, you got to become very comfortable with your county members, right? Because you're going to be spending time in those buildings. You're going to be spending time in those libraries, doing some digging to get the information that you need about the market that's around you. It can be done. You can also start going around, again, boots on the ground, just surveying the area. It can be done. I mean, think about it. The internet is fairly new. When I was coming up, we didn't have internet. So and businesses existed before that, right? So,
Yeah.
So you just have to be creative, but also you have to understand that it's going to take you a little bit of hard work. And as long as you have that gumption in you to do that hard work, then you can do it. You can do anything that you put your mind to. Everybody that's here on this call and in this chat room, anything that you put your mind to, you can do. It's really just a matter of doing it strategically. And whenever you make mistakes, and if you accidentally fail, that's okay. Take those failures as a lesson and understand that you just have to push forward and keep moving and not giving up. Pivoting when you need to pivot, and leaning into your faith. If you're a faith-based person, sometimes you just have to take a step back, lean into your faith, and then never lose sight of taking care of yourself as well.
Cool. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor, for that answer. Another question from Archie is, how can you deal with so many competitors in the same business that you do?
Say that question one more time. I'm so sorry.
Okay. The question is, how can you deal with so many competitors in the same business that you do, where all like they stay? Just how do you deal with competitors who are doing the same business as yourself?
Yeah. So I always tell people keep their blinders on. What other people doing with their business is not really your concern. You have to focus on your goals and that you're trying to do.
Okay, sorry, doctor, we lost you for that last part.
I'm so sorry. I was just saying your number one priority has to be focusing on your own business.
Yeah.
Worrying about competitors isn't something that you should be doing. Understanding that they're there because that's part of the feasibility, right? Like I see that there's a competitor there and I understand that. But your focus needs to be providing the best experience for your customers. If you remember at the beginning of my talk, I said here in the Seattle region, there's a coffee shop on this corner, there's a coffee shop on that corner. But Starbucks started here, and that's not even the most popular coffee shop. So all these other coffee shops that popped up, they're not worried about Starbucks that's over here down the street. They're like, okay, I'm still gonna put my coffee shop here, and they're all still busy. It's all about what you provide to your customer. And that's all you have to focus on. Don't get so caught up in what everybody else is doing because comparison is the thief of joy. So it's very easy to get caught up in, oh, well, so and so's doing this. And then you start to feel bad about yourself and then you start to doubt and all those other things. Another thing I mentioned in the beginning, what's one of the things you need? Confidence. You have to be confident in yourself. So focus on what you're doing, focus on your own self. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about other people talking about you either. Don't worry about people saying, oh, she's over here doing this. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Your legacy starts with you, and you have to have the confidence to push forward and push through all the noise.
Okay, I think Dr. K, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, it was lagging, sorry. The last
That's okay.
question is from Rochelle. And the question is, should your business be suitable for a future market? Is it advisable to source out a feasibility study or research the data yourself?
So I like for people to do their own data. If this is going to be your business, right? And so even though I do encourage people, like once you get the business started, you do need to have your team. I don't think people should do it alone, right? I think you should work with somebody and have them help you if you don't know how to do it, but you need to be part of the process so that you fully understand. Because later on, when something goes wrong, if something goes wrong and the launch isn't as it should have been, then I think it's important to understand why that happened without having a scapegoat of somebody who, hey, this person, you didn't identify this. It's important to understand the process. Not only that, but you're going to conduct feasibility more than just at the start of your business, right? So it's an ongoing thing that you're looking at. Let's say you want to open up a second location. Let's say you want to bring in a new product. Let's say you want to bring in a new service. You have to understand that process. So I always encourage my business owners to actually go through the steps and conducting feasibility.
Thank you so much once again to our amazing speaker, Dr. Jami. Thank you for your wonderful insights. Really learned a lot today, and I believe the viewers did as well. Oh, and Vivian is back. Vivian, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sure the network was really bad. So sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
All right, I'll be handing over to you. You can go on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you once again to our amazing speaker, Dr. Jami, and to all our viewers for either joining today's session. So before we end the session, kindly please note that your attendance is either important. So there's an attendance link that will be posted in the description below, right after today's session. So kindly take a moment to click on it and then you fill it out. It only takes a minute and serves as your attendance record for this session. So if you have any additional questions, you can stay connected with us by following Tip on Facebook and Tip, X formerly Twitter at Tip2, LinkedIn at Tip, Instagram at NTEEP Connect. So, okay, special maybe appreciation goes to our supporters and ecosystem partners. Nomfro Technologies, Africa's Business, Spirit TV, the Mary Ben Foundation. So, thank you all for being part of the NTEEP community. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.